Now, in all these field seasons, which involved Punjab and Sindh and also Baluchistan, the one officer who was entirely missing from the scene of action was Rakhaldas Banerjee, the mohanjodaro man. Now, superficially, this shouldn't surprise us. He had been transferred to the Eastern Circle from the Western Circle, actually in shame, because there were financial mishandlings in this very museum where he was the honorary curator. At this point in time, when these big excavations are taking place in October 1925, he was correcting the proofs of his manuscript, the Heheyas of Tripuri. And he needed to cross-check the inscriptions and some of the images at the 64 Yogini temple in Bheraghat, which is near Jabalpur. So he spent 2 days at this temple going up and down, and very soon after this, it was found that a Buddhist image, an inscribed Buddhist image of the goddess Tara, was missing from the 64 Yogini temple. The case papers for this are contained in a confidential file of the government, not just the ASI of the government. And actually, the file makes it very clear that in the train of its disappearance, Banerjee was directly implicated. It all began on 18th October 1925, when he was accompanied by his photographer and his peon. The pujari showed them around. And then when the pujari came back in the afternoon, he heard, as he says, this Indian sahib in English dress saying something to the peon and to his photographer. And then this one image was carried on the head of one of the two laborers there. It was taken to where Banerjee had temporarily halted. It was in the veranda, so it's not as if it was stolen surreptitiously. And then it was loaded in his car by his peon. Now, this was only discovered some days later when the Tehsildar of Jabalpur came to meet the Mahant of the 64 Yogini temple. And he said, well, there is this image of Tara Devi. Can we take it to the Nagpur Museum? So the Mahant went to the temple, and the Pujari then told him that, well, that image has been taken away. At that point in time, within a few days, the Mahant reported this to the Deputy Commissioner of Jabalpur. A letter was sent to Banerjee, and Banerjee replied on 17 November saying, nobody, neither me nor a member of my staff, have taken any such image. But the Mahant decided to press on. And there was first, and to cut a long story short, in the new edition of my book, I put this as an afterword. You have an informal police inquiry followed by a formal police inquiry. And then when matters got very hot, Banerjee came back to Jabalpur with the image, saying that his nephew had found this in Calcutta, where apparently it was his peon who was who had been involved in getting it worshipped on one of the ghats and so on and so forth. There was a departmental inquiry. He was, of course, suspended immediately. There was a departmental inquiry. Followed by this, the matter came to the Public Service Commission, and he was removed from service with a compassionate allowance, which was 2/3 of his annual pension. Now, the circumstances of his departure are very sad, and I'm sure, this must have hung heavy on his shoulders. But I think it also reminds us that enormous talent, because he was a brilliant maverick man, can be accompanied with very sort of this astonishing proclivity to ignore the possible consequences of his actions. And his actions were entirely beyond the rules relating to officers of the survey. But although his dismissal was in dishonor, at the end of it, his career did not suffer, because very soon after that, in 1928, he was dismissed in 1927. In 1928, he became the Manindra Chandra Nandi Professor of Ancient Indian History and Culture at the Banaras Hindu University, and that is where he died in harness in 1930.